Lesson 12-5, Functions, and in this lesson you learn to complete function tables. When are you ever going to use this? Because knowing how to complete function tables can help you determine the amount of profit a business will make for selling any number of items. So let's take a look at this example about kangaroos. So a group of kangaroos is called a mob. The amount of plants that a mob of kangaroos eats depends on how many are in the mob. So in other words, the amount of plants eaten is a function of the number of kangaroos. I can restate this by saying that the amount of plants eaten is dependent on the number of kangaroos. So a function is basically a relation. It is a relationship between two factors. In this case, the amount of plants eaten and the number of kangaroos. So in this relationship, the amount of plants eaten is dependent on the number of kangaroos there are in a mob. So a grown kangaroo can eat 14 pounds of grass and other plants per day. So about how many pounds a day would be eaten by a mob of 3 grown kangaroos, 4 kangaroos, and 5 kangaroos? And we'll solve this problem by using what we call a function table, and we will do that in example 1. Okay, so taking a look at example 1, to find the amount eaten by a mob of kangaroos in a day, which is our output, you need to multiply the number in the mob input by 14. So our function rule will be 14n, because that 14 pounds will be eaten, okay, a day by the unknown number of kangaroos, which will be equal to n. And our input will be the number in the mob, which is n, and our output would be the amount eaten in a day, which will be the output being dependent from our input. And if you notice, I put x here and I put y there, because once we start graphing this in a coordinate plane, our output will be our y coordinate and our input will be our x coordinate, and our output will always be dependent on our input. Okay, so our output will always be dependent on our input. So let's take a look at our example, and let's say we have 3 kangaroos. So applying the function rule, we multiply 3 by 14. The amount eaten in a day by 3 kangaroos in a mob will be 42 pounds. 4 kangaroos, that's will be 14 times 4, which will give you 56. And finally, 5 kangaroos, which is 14 times 5, will give you 70. Okay, so a mob of 3 can eat 42 pounds of grass and plants, 4 eat 56 pounds, and 5 eat 70 pounds. What's interesting is that if you look at the page to your left, a newborn kangaroo is called a joey, and it's the size of a paperclip when it's born and weighs about 0.03 of an ounce. Remember that a kangaroo is a marsupial. Marsupials bear live young, but they are not fully developed. They develop in the pouch of their mothers, and that's where they grow from 0.3 of an inch all the way to a full-grown kangaroo. Okay. So in example 1, we basically know what the input is, and we know what the function rule is, and we just need to find out the output. In example 2, we need to find the function rule. So find the rule for the function table, and let's study the relationship between input and output. These are our inputs, -2, 0, 1, 3, and these are our outputs, 2, 4, 5, and 7. Okay, to be able to find out the relationship, okay, we have -2, okay, plus 4 will give us 2, 0 plus 4 will give us 4, 1 plus 4 will give us 5, and 3 plus 4 will give us 7. So if you notice, you're always adding 4 to n, so therefore the output is 4 more than the input. The function rule is n plus 4. Okay? Before we go to the last example, the secret word for this particular lesson will be wolverine. The secret word is wolverine. So in life science, insect-eating bats control insects without chemicals. Brown bat often eats 600 mosquitoes an hour. To make a function table showing the number of mosquitoes eaten in 2, 4, 6 hours. So we already know the function rule, and we already have the input. Okay? So you can use the function rule 600h, where h is the number of hours, because you have 600 mosquitoes. Okay, being eaten in an hour. That's why it's 600 times h, where h is the number of hours. And then we simply replace h in the rule 600h with the number of hours. So if h is equal to 2, we have 600 times 2 will give us 1200 mosquitoes. If we replace h with 4, it will be 600 times 4. That will give us 2400 mosquitoes. And if we replace h with 6, that would give us 600 times 6, or 3600 mosquitoes. And if we put them in our function table, this is how it's going to come out. Therefore, in this case, a brown bat can eat 1200 mosquitoes in 2 hours, 2400 mosquitoes in 4 hours, and 3600 mosquitoes in 6 hours. And that's the end of our lesson. Thanks for watching.